the word shaman is a Siberian term, and the shaman in Siberia was like the shamans of Americas before, the Native Americans. There was a medicine man, the one that actually gets to communicate with the plants, and vice versa. The shaman in Siberia, speaking of the Christmas link, they were reindeer herders. They would herd reindeer. They would migrate with the reindeer. They would live in a symbiotic relationship with the reindeer. So right away, you've got this link to Christmas and the reindeer. The shaman there, of course, has the big beard for warmth, of course, but their sacred plant, and I keep saying sacred plant, mushrooms, plants, it kind of, when you live back then, it's all the same. It wasn't until recently that people realized, well, mushrooms aren't technically a plant. So people are kind of splitting hairs there, but sacred plants and mushrooms. The mushroom that the Siberian shaman was connected with was the Amanita muscaria, the red and white mushroom. So they would dress in the colors of the mushroom. They would dress in the red and white color of the mushroom. So now you have this man with a big beard dressing in red and white, and when they would migrate with the reindeer, they would take their house with them. They would take their yurt with them. And when it snows in Russia, it snows up past where you would put a door. So the entrance into their yurt was through the smoke hole, through the top. The snow would come up to the top, and they would just walk right up and hop into their little smoke hole and climb down into the chimney. So now you have this guy with a big beard, dressing in red and white, with his bag of Amanita muscaria mushrooms that magically grow underneath pine trees. They grow in a symbiotic relationship with a tree. They flourish under pine trees. And so now he's got his medicine bag with him that he's collected all of his mushrooms, climbing into the smoke hole to deliver his gift. So it's our Christmas traditions. There are some people that debate the origin of Christmas and this and that, but to me it just makes so much sense. Yeah, the colors of the mushroom, red and white. That's what the shaman wears, is the red and white. Now, people think red and white came from Coca-Cola, but you'll have to watch my film for the actual debate between was it Coca-Cola or was the shaman dressing in the colors of the Amanita. Personally, I think it was the shaman dressing in the colors of his native plants, because shamans do that. They become one with the plant. They become one with their sacrament, and they do that by face paint, and they do that with the big feathers, the open chakra system. They present themselves the way they see themselves, and that's one way of doing it, is by dressing in the colors of the mushroom. So if Christianity has any basis in the Amanita muscaria mushroom, and the more research you do in this, look up John Allegro, it does. It is linked to the Amanita muscaria mushroom. Even there are theories that Jesus himself was the mushroom, take and eat, right? So the colors of the mushroom, if you look at the cardinals in the church, well, the mushroom itself is a phoenix. It's born of its own ashes. It's born from the spores that are left behind from the mushroom that grew right there beforehand. And as soon as it spreads its wings, it seems to burst into flames because it turns a bright orange, gold, red color, and it dies in its nest. So it's symbolized as a phoenix. Well, the phoenix is a red bird. A cardinal is a red bird. A cardinal in the church dresses just like a walking Amanita muscaria mushroom. So there's this odd connection today in Catholicism with the Amanita muscaria visually. And that's weird, but they do it. They feel like they need to dress certain ways to feel certain feelings, whatever. Easter is another connection to shamanism because of the Easter egg hunt. Now, a lot of Easter is based in sun worship, and that's why, you know, I thought just many years ago I'm going to make this film about the connections between sun worship and shamanism to Christianity. A lot of Easter is based in sun worship, but then you have this strange Easter egg hunt thing. What is that all about? Well, who better to go gather these mushrooms than little kids that can run up underneath the shrubbery, and better than a big clumsy adult to go get these mushrooms and collect them in their little baskets, and if you get the adults the right mushrooms, then you get a treat. So there's a reward process. And of course, the golden mushroom, the golden egg, there's all sorts of connections. Just, you know, all you have to do is be open-minded enough to see it. There is a stage in the mushroom's growth cycle where the mushroom, you know, looks like a typical mushroom, but then it flattens itself out into a table. But it keeps, the amanita keeps growing to where it turns its wings up, so to speak, and becomes a cup, a grail that you can actually take and drink, so to speak. I used to lecture on this stuff, and I've stopped doing that. I now lecture on what my films are about because I'm not a scholar. I didn't go to school to study theology. I'm not a mycologist. I'm not a historian. Now, I've studied these things for 15 years now, but that doesn't put me in a position of being the guy. You know, like I said, I feel kind of uncomfortable doing an interview just because I don't want to come across as the know-it-all. You know, I went to film school. I'm a filmmaker. So now I'm making films, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get behind the camera now, and if I go do a lecture or whatever, it's going to be before or after one of my films have been screened or something like this. I've interviewed some great people. Dr. Patrick Harding is going to blow you away when it comes to the Christmas connection. I've interviewed Rick Strassman, Dennis McKenna, Timothy Freak, and Peter Gandy have both come forward to talk about psychedelics. I don't know that they've done this before, so that's kind of exciting. Daniel Pinchbeck. My films are finally, you know, I wrote a couple of books and I made a film before, so the people that I talk to have a certain degree of trust that I'm not just going to take a little clip of what they say and twist their meaning. So the people have been very open. I've done 2-hour interviews with people where they just want to tell me everything. Clark Heinrich and I sat and talked all day on camera. So I'm using as much of their footage as I can. And it started out as a 1-film feature project that I wanted to put out, and I ended up with so much footage that now it's 3.